Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Sorry I haven't been uploading much recently. This is the end of the semester and exams are coming up, and I will be going on my Christmas break here very soon, so we should have a bit more content coming around. So there you go. And so we are on episode 4 of the Running Mate timeline, going through the years of 1851 all the way to 1871. And we start off with nothing noteworthy happening in 1851. Nothing really noteworthy happened IRL, so I doubt anything would happen here. And then in 1852, we do have the 1852 election, where the Democrats nominate Vice President William Graham, who was the vice president under um, Hancock. Scott Hancock. Yeah. The vice president, him, and he is a very staunch pro-slavery Federalist, so, you know, which is why we have a pretty funky map right here. And we have a William King who was, you know, he wasn't pro-slavery, but he wasn't anti-slavery. He was one of those, He was also a senator from Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, he was a Northeastern Democrat. Never mind, I could be wrong. But William Graham would, of course, win a good chunk of the South for a Federalist, and he would win, and he would also win the state of Jefferson. If you know how to make a custom map of the United States where you can change the borders, tell me down in the comments below. I would really need to, as well as add other like parts of countries. That would be pretty cool. If you know how to do that, comment down below. 1853, the Kosta Affair would occur, which is a naval conflict with Austria. And then 1854, President Graham would veto the Nebraska-Kansas Act, which would have, you know, split, which would allow them to choose, hey, do you want to have slavery or not? He would veto this, you know, pro-slavery and all. The Klamath-Salmon River War would occur, which is another, hey, give me your territory kind of war. And President Graham would sign the Point-No-Point Treaty, getting that land. The First Sioux War, the Yakima War, as well as the Third Seminole War would begin in 1855, excuse me. Going on to 1856, the Yakima War would end, as well as the Third Seminole War. And then we get to the 1856 presidential election, which is a four-way race. However, the Federalist vote is being split three-way with the American Party, or the Know-Nothing Party, with Andrew Donaldson, and the Republicans with William Dayton. So there you go. And the Democrats nominate a congressman out of Kentucky, John Breckinridge. John Breckinridge would landslide this election, defeating William Graham, William Dayton, and Andrew Donaldson with 180 electoral votes. He would become the 10th president of the United States, and he would win the state of Jefferson. In 1857, we would have the Panic of 1857 as well. That would already hurt Breckinridge, with a panic already occurring. 1858, Minnesota becomes the 33rd state. The Third Seminole War would officially begin, as well as the Utah War ending. Going on to 1859, Oregon would become the 34th state to be admitted into the United States, and Pikes Peak Gold Rush would begin in Pike Peak, Colorado. Sorry about that. Going on to 1860, we would have the 1860 election, which would be a three-way race between the Federalists, which is their last hurrah, and they're serving as pretty much the Constitutional Union Party, that they're just stuck with Federalists now. And the Republicans would nominate a senator out of Maine, Hannibal Hamlin, which there is no split between Southern and Northern Democrats here, because John Breckinridge and his running mate, who is a Northern Democrat, let's say it's Stephen Douglas, Illinois Senator Stephen Douglas, who he replaces after his past running mate, though that's the only person name I could, or a senator out of Delaware. That could also work, as Delaware is considered a Northern and Southern state, though it's a Southern state because it's under the Mason-Dixon line. Sorry to tell you that. And Federalists would nominate Edward Everett, a senator out of, I believe, Tennessee. I could be wrong. But Hannibal Hamlin does win this election, despite the vote splitting between him and Everett. However, it's not really much vote splitting, because Hamlin is getting, it would be taken off the ballot in the South, so it's just a two-way race between Breckinridge and Everett. And Hannibal Hamlin would become the 11th president, and thus the Civil War began, along with the secession crisis with multiple southern states. And with Kansas in 1861, Kansas and Nebraska would become states in their own right, the 35th and 36th. 1862, we would have a smallpox epidemic going along with the Civil War, which ain't good. 1863, there is nothing noteworthy. In 1864, President Hamlin would pass the Coinage Act of 1964, which labels "In God We Trust" on all of the coins. And we also have the 1864 election between President Hannibal Hamlin and General George McClellan. And Hannibal Hamlin would, of course, beat McClellan. McClellan would do a lot worse. He would even lose his home state of New Jersey to Hamlin. In 1865, the 13th Amendment would be ratified, which prohibits slavery in the United States, as well as the Civil War ending, and then we go on to Reconstruction. In 1866, President Hamlin would sign a more radical Civil Rights Act. He was a radical Republican, a lot more than what Abraham Lincoln was, so he would probably do something that's a little bit more radical, probably some sort of integration, or forced integration, I guess you could say, not to the level of 1850s and 60s with Brown v. Board of Education, but something along those lines. 1867, Vice President Seward, William Seward is Hannibal Hamlin's vice president. He would sign the Alaska Purchase, and he would talk Hannibal Hamlin into giving statehood to Alaska, so Alaska becomes the 37th state. 1868, the 14th Amendment is ratified, which sets up the naturalization process in the country, and thus the Hannibal Hamlin would run for a third term, and Democrats would nominate Francis Blair Jr., who I believe was a state senator, and Francis Blair Jr. would get crushed by Hamlin. He's very popular. Hamlin would win a third term as the presidency, and Hamlin wouldn't be assassinated like Lincoln would, and plus that's a bit mucky saying someone who didn't get killed in this time. Anyway, it's mucky, multiverse theory and all that. 1869, President Hamlin does not grant amnesty to the South, so Reconstruction takes a bit longer to go, and there's also more of a hatred among Southerners against Northerners, technically. 1870, the 15th Amendment would be ratified, which gives minorities in the country the right to vote. In 1871, President Hamlin, that's a different series you can go check out on my channel. He declares the KKK a national threat after they break out and start, killing blacks. So he would declare them a national threat. And so the KKK is essentially, like a terrorist group in the country, and still is to this day. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go follow my Twitter at Chaotic Politics. This is the Chaotic One saying, peace.